Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another Optc video, and in today's video, we're over here on the global side of the game doing another Pirate Rumble video showcasing the new V2 Enel that has just released on the global side, and with his release, slashes are now definitively dead. Slashes do not stand a chance against this man and the help of Rebecca and Toy Soldier. And with his release, we are going to be showcasing the side team in Rumble. Now, in today's video, I do have sort of 3 different variations of the side team for you, utilizing a different sub with Germa, Boa, or Aokiji. I do also have another team, a little cheeky shenanigans with Corazon against the big dog Kaido, but I gotta say, Enel's artwork is just absolutely phenomenal. I do like his 5-star a little bit more, but that ink effect is just ridiculously cool. So let's take a look at the Rumble team. So, as mentioned, we are rocking a mono side team, and this particular team is basically designed to destroy slashes. Now, the beautiful thing about slashes is even if you aren't coming up against the stereotypical slasher team, there are a lot of very good slashes that just pop up in every sort of day-to-day team. So you do have like Wano Lord, you do have Dofi, you do have the new super type Zoro, Shanks crew. All of those units sort of pop up everywhere within like rainbow teams or mono side teams, mono int teams. You also have Halloween Shanks and Halloween Law, who are very prevalent in that int team as well as on the slasher teams. So this particular team does a very, very good job. So let's talk about Enel quickly. So Enel's Rumble special, on a 17-turn cooldown, by the way, does 1.1 times his attack, targets side-type teammates for defense up level 3, and speed up level 5 on a 17-turn cooldown. So you can basically just keep popping that and have that available all the time. His Rumble ability is going to give defense up level 5 to side units, speed up level 5, and for the first 40 seconds of the battle, gives slasher class enemies special cooldown speed down level 5. So this just completely cucks Odin, and it means that you don't have to worry about that ridiculous Paradise Waterfall attack until later on in the game when it doesn't matter too much. The next slasher destroyer is Rebecca and Toy Soldier. Their special is going to target 2 enemies for a 2 times attack, and then will give level 3 down defense to a large range, and then targets all slasher enemies for defense down level 5. So giving 8 defense down to slashers on a 22-second cooldown is just absolutely phenomenal. And like I mentioned, even if the team isn't devoted to slashers, these 2 units can just absolutely cuck that core, and then you're just good to go. Their Rumble ability gives side teammates attack up level 6, defense up level 2, and HP up level 5, which is really, really good. Next, we've got Wano Law, who's an amazing nerfer for powerhouse and driven units. He gives Sire units cooldown, like special CT level 6, and for the first 40 seconds of the battle, he's going to completely cuck driven and powerhouse. So his cooldown, speed, guard, you name it, he does it all by level 6. So it's really, really good, especially if you're coming up against characters like Kaido. His special is going to do 22 fixed damage to a large range, and then target side-type teammates for special bind paralysis and action bind reduction by 22 seconds. So he's also here to help us out if we do get those nasty defects. On to the next unit now, we have the big dog, Mr. Pirate King himself, Goldie Roger. Goldie Roger's still a phenomenal Rumble unit. He's still arguably one of the best Rumble units in the game, no matter where you put him. He's a rainbow unit. For the first 30 seconds, he gives defense up level 3. And then for the first 60 seconds, he gives attack up level 5, speed up level 5. And when there's 40 seconds left, he gives special cooldown speed up level 6. So a ridiculously powerful unit. His special does 2,000 fixed damage to all enemies, and in a medium range, does attack down level 7, defense down level 5, speed down level 10. So he is just exceptionally strong, especially on the side team, let alone on any other team as well. Alright, so the next and the final unit is very replaceable. So in today's video, I do have 3 different options. So first of all, we're going to talk about Germa. Germa's special on global does 3 enemies for 2,500 fixed damage, and then targets 2 enemies for 100% paralysis, which is really, really good. They are on a 30-second cooldown, but it's not the end of the world, as we do have some special cooldown on this team as well. Their Rumble ability gives defense up level 2, HP level 5 to side units, and then nerfs int by defense down level 2. Now, on Japan, they just got a 6+, and that int nerfing goes to level 5 defense down, so they're a phenomenal unit. But if you do not have this Germa, do not stress, you do have a couple of different options. You do have V3 Boa. She's another really good option. She does 4,000 fixed damage to the lowest HP enemy. She targets side teammates for attack up level 6. And in a large horizontal range, she does attack down level 11 for 15 seconds, which is really, really nice. But with Roger, it's not overly essential. Her Rumble ability does attack up level 5, and when HP is below 50%, she gives defense up level 3 to side and teammates as well. So that extra 3 defense is actually pretty nice. The downside is it's not at the start of the fight, but it can still help you out when it does trigger. Another really, really good option for the team is actually someone like Aokiji, V2 Aokiji. V2 Aokiji is really, really good at nerfing int units, but he also buffs quick and psi, teammate speed level 6 and defense up level 3. So you can actually slide Kaido onto this team as well if you are using Aokiji, because he's really good at buffing quick units as well. He does help out PvP Whitebeard as well. His Rumble special targets all enemies for 1400 fixed damage, targets strength and int type enemies for defense down level 5 and special cooldown level 5 as well. So if you're coming up against int teams or strength teams or like a combination of the two, Aokiji is going to be your man to just help you just nerf that team drastically. You do have some other really good options in some rare recruits. You have characters like this Viola. She's a very good unit. She's got a very, very good passive, as you can see, and she's got a pretty decent healing special. You do have another option in someone like Crocus. Crocus is very similar to that Viola, but does speed up instead of HP. He still does the defense, and he does a lot of healing on a 30-second cooldown too, which is actually pretty good. And he does a little bit of work with defense up. You also have characters like the Rayleigh that came out with Roger as well. He's another really good unit, as he does a lot of HP up, level 6 for Psi, and then he also does defense effects as well. As for the rest of the team, it's pretty much up to you what you want to do with your bench. PvP Whitebeard's always a very, very good unit. Colgara Nolan, another Psi unit, another very, very good option, as they do a lot of damage. And then you've got characters like Sobermask, who can just nuke in the final stages of the battle. You can also use characters like Kaku. Kaku's another really, really good option for the bench if you do have PvP Kaku, as he does a lot of fixed damage. He does a lot of nerfing to Dex units, and he does a lot of damage as well, because he can do Dex defense level 5. So it depends on what you're versing, depending on what your bench wants to look like. But as long as you do have some nukers in there, and if you do have Rebecca Toy Soldier, it means that you can rock this 8-man team. But that's enough about the team. That's enough about the units. Let's hop into some fights now. I do have 7 fights for you today in this video, guys. I will leave timestamps in the description. And if you do head down there to hit the description, make sure to smash a like. If you're new, hit the big red subscribe button too. But with that said, let's jump into some fights now. Alright, so for the first team variation, we are using the Germa 66. Now, Germa 66 are really, really good at nerfing int characters, and with their super evolution on JP, I'm actually really considering limit break plussing my Germa now, just preparing for that, because they're a really good unit in regular play as well as Rumble. With their updated Rumble abilities, they give like level 5 defense down to int units, which is really, really good, even if you aren't versing a mono int team, like we are versing the Ryoiin stereotypical speed slasher team here. As you guys know, as mentioned in the intro, Enel just absolutely devours slashers with the help of Rebecca and Toy Soldier. But with Germa as well, it means that we can actually start nerfing characters like Dofi, Halloween Law, and Halloween Shanks. They're the big three, but if you come up against a mono int team, Germa is just going to be a really, really good option, as Germa's, even without their 6+ on Japan, still gives level 2 defense down to int units. Their passive is pretty good. They give HP. I'm pretty sure they give defense as well, and they do a lot of fixed damage to 3 enemies, 2500. So here they come now. They do 2500 fixed damage, which is really, really good. They'll also paralyze into units as well, so that's a nice little addition, very similar to Kaido and his paralysis. Now, paralysis isn't really something you should be banking on, but it is a nice little touch. And as you can see, just with Enel's passive, the amount of times Enel pops his special off, and with the help of Rebecca Toy Soldier, the slashers don't stand too much of a chance. And even with Whitebeard in the back coming in with his amazing special, we can easily tank it, say goodbye to the slashers. And yeah, Enel's just an absolute monster, I swear to God. Whenever you've come up against any slasher, Enel is just like crazy. Let's move on to the next fight though. Alright, so on to the next fight now. We are versing a very similar team. We do have Whitebeard in the back, and we are versing the stereotypical Ryoiin slashers. I just really wanted to show off how powerful Enel is against the slasher meta, and just to really show that slashers really don't stand a chance anymore. And even if the team doesn't normally consist of a full slasher team, Enel's still really, really viable, as most really good units in Rumble are actually slashers. You have really good characters like Shank's crew. The new Dex Zoro, who's an amazing Rumble unit, is also a slasher. You have Roger and Odin, Dofi, V3 Law. There's a lot of team comps that have slashers in it without being a stereotypical slasher team. So Enel's just going to be really, really viable, as the Psi team is just gotten a really, really big buff with Enel, and especially Toy Soldier and Rebecca. As they did have a lot of really, really good options, being Germa, Boa, Aokiji, There's a lot of good rare recruits. You have Viola, Rebecca, Crocus, Rayleigh. All of those rare recruits work really, really well hand in hand with this particular side team. But with the Rebecca Toy Soldier special giving 8 defense down to slashes, 3 defense to the whole team, and then 5 extra defense down to slashes is just ridiculously strong. The one sort of knock I have with Rebecca and Toy Soldier is they actually attack before they do their defense down. So they actually just lose out on like a heap of damage, which is a little bit of a shame. But it's not the end of the world, as they're sort of here just for their nerfing capabilities. And their extra damage is nice. So we do cop a Odin special on this particular team. So we did actually lose Germa on this particular run. And look, sometimes that's going to happen. But as you can tell with our team setup, we've still got a lot of HP. We're still sitting in very good stead. He's lost basically his core being Dofi. He's really only banking on his Roger and his Law now. And with the Enel special, we can easily clap that, take out Roger without normal attacks, and say goodbye to the old school Rodent Slasher team. So the Rodent Slashers are no more, unfortunately, but it is nice to see the meta shift and a lot of teams sort of floating around. So let's move on to the next match now. So on to the next variation, I am using Aokiji, and we are coming up against a mono in team. Now, Aokiji is a really good option for the mono Psy team, as he does a lot of work with buffing quick and Psy units. He's another unit that's really good at nerfing ints. So if you are coming up against int units, you do want to try and find a spot for either him or Germa. But I do have another team set up that I am going to showcase when the championship's out. I think I'm going to try and rock that team quite heavily. And it does consist of Aokiji and Kaido. With Aokiji boosting quick as well, you can actually find a way to slide Kaido into this team over Law, and it actually works ridiculously well, as Kaido just gives you a lot of damage output. He's very self-sufficient in the early stages of the fight, and then with that extra little buff that Kuzan can provide, he can be a really viable option on this Psy team, and that way you can do some shenanigans with Psy and Quick. With Whitebeard being such a good PvP unit as well, it also gives him a nice little buff with Aokiji as well. So if you are using PvP Whitebeard and Aokiji on the team, you can always look at moving Whitebeard forward a slot on your bench, and that way when he comes in, ideally you want him to come in around the 50-second mark, because that's when his passive is truly strong. But you also want him to come in with Aokiji, so that way he can get the buff there and just output a butt ton of damage. But as you can see, Int sort of just doesn't stand a chance against Mono Psy, as it should be, but in the same sense, Int is very strong against Psy. So it's kind of a double-ended sword there. But Enel, with the help of Rebecca and Toy Soldier, because the Int team still uses Dofi as its core, means that we can actually abuse the slasher tag that he has and get all those nerfs and actually take him out. Him being the core means that basically all the other units will just melt around him, and with the extra nerfing that Aokiji can provide, or Germa, whichever one you choose, it just works really, really well. So that was against the Int team with Aokiji. Let's move on to V3 Boa now. So the next setup I have is with V3 Boa. Now V3 Boa is a really good option. She can give a lot of attack down, and she also does a lot of fixed damage to one unit. The problem with that is it is 4,000 damage, which is a lot, but it is only to one unit, and that unit will obviously be randomly selected. But with her passive, she actually gives quite a bit of attack up, and she also gives a defensive buff. Now, the downside to her compared to someone like, or the character like Germa, is she actually gives her defense when you get to around the 50% mark, which can be good, especially if you are coming up against like Odin, but it means that you don't have the defensive buff at the start of the fight, which is a little bit annoying, but it still can come in handy, as once you do hit that 50%, you are going to be getting that defensive stack. As you can see on this team, we are sitting around 13 defense, which is really, really nice. Enel, we kind of got unlucky there, and he only hit Roger, which is a little bit of a shame, but look, it is what it is. This particular team has Sobermask in the back, who's a very, very good nuker, as do we, as running an 8-man team in the meta at the moment is just so damn prevalent. Now, this particular team I did choose because it did have Halloween Shanks, and we didn't have a Int nerfer. So I wanted to show off that even if you aren't using characters like Germa or Aokiji, you can easily still take on like Halloween Law and Halloween Shanks in the Slasher team, as Rebecca Toy Soldier and Enel's pure purpose was to just shut them down, and they do a fantastic job. Now, unfortunately, this particular fight wasn't a great showing for Boa. We actually lost her fairly early, but it's not the end of the world, as we do have Kalgar and Nolan as our front runner on the bench. Kalgar and Nolan are a great option for the bench if you do have them, as they are another Psy unit, and their special cooldown is so low that once they come into the back end of the fight and there's characters that don't have much HP, they are going to basically just make sure that they take out units. And if they hit a character that has a lot of HP, you can see Enel come in and just clean up the scraps. So that was the first fight for Boa. Let's check out another fight now. So on to the next fight, we have the Neo Slashers. Now, this particular Slasher team is my favorite of all the Slasher teams. I love the Halloween Law and Halloween Shanks combo. But again, I wanted to show Boa against them instead of Germa and Aokiji, as Germa and Aokiji basically just nerf them even further. So if you do have those particular units and you do see this Slasher team float around, slap on Germa, slap on Aokiji, because they will do so much more work than Boa is going to do. But I just wanted to show off how strong Boa can actually be, as her attack down nerfing is ridiculously overpowered. But it isn't the be-all, end-all. It's just more annoying for the enemy, but it also sort of helps your units tank quite a bit if they do happen to get a very good Roger special off, or if they do manage to get the Law special off and the Shank special off, which means that they can action blind us as well as special blind us. So you really want to make sure that you can have a contingency plan there, and with Boa getting that defense a little bit later, it can actually work in your favor, as that way you'll get the defense if your characters are blinded or special blinded. But as you can see there, we actually got pretty lucky with our special placement. Our specials went a lot quicker than Law's did because we gave so much speed down. So that way, we basically popped all our specials off before he actually special blinded us. We're going to cop the Odin special there, but we can easily tank that with our defense. And at this point, his core's gone, and we just a matter of time before we take all these units out. But Enel, being the absolute monster that he is, just crushing the Slashers with one hand. And it just works really, really well. So let's move on to the final two fights now. Not against Slashers, but against the big dog Kaido. Alright, so moving on to the big dog Kaido team now. So this particular driven Roger setup was actually floating around when Roger was first released. Now this guy's using rare recruit Enel on his bench as well as PvP Whitebeard. He does have Tessero and Dofi in the front, which is quite scary. But as mentioned in some of my other Rumble videos, Corazon and Law combo basically shuts down Quick, shuts down Powerhouse and Driven very, very well. So having them both on the same team is just phenomenal. So instead of using the Boa, Germa or Aokiji setup, we've actually slid Corazon in here. Now Corazon's amazing because he can not only give us 10 attack for like the first 40 seconds of the fight, he does a lot of healing, and he can do level 7 defense up. Now the level 7 defense up is in a small radius, but the thing with Corazon, he actually heals your units, and normally he just runs into the center of your units to try and heal as many as he possibly can. And in doing that, actually puts himself in a really good position to give a lot of your units 7 defense up. But he's basically here for his passive to just nerf quick units even further. And as you can see, we are popping all our specials off. This guy's using Roger and Dofi as well, which means that they are slashers. So Rebecca and Toy Soldier is actually doing a lot more work as well. And with Enel as well being on, well, the main hitter on this particular team, it just means that once we take that core out of Dofi and Roger, we're in really, really good stead. So we're at the 60-second mark, and we still haven't seen the Kaido special. That's how much speed nerfing this team has, as well as cooldown reduction nerfing it has. But once we do take the Kaido special, it's not even that big of a deal, as by that point in the fight, we've still got so much HP, and we still have quite a bit of defense. Once that happens, we just have Enel coming in using his special like 4 billion times. We've got Rebecca and Toy Soldier to take out the Slashers. We have Law to be nerfing the Driven Powerhouse. We have Roger's nerfing capabilities. We have Corazon's nerfing capabilities and his defensive and healing buffs. That even once they do get the big dog Whitebeard popping in to take out our Corazon, he's already done his job at that point, and now we can just get our nukers to come in, clean up the scraps, and take out whatever is left. So goodbye Kaido, and then goodbye to our friend PvP Whitebeard. So that was against the Roger Slasher Driven team. Let's move on to another fight using Corazon now against Kaido. So the final fight of the video is against the stereotypical quick team. So this team is using Bellamy, Invakov in the front, as well as having Kaido as their main hitter. They have the new treasure map Queen, as well as Tessero. Now, Tessero is a really, really good option for a defensive team. And this guy's actually got Zoro in the back, the king of nuking himself, the super type Zoro that just released alongside Kaido, who is a phenomenal Rumble unit. That Dex team is just, it's actually wild. And I have put together a PSY quick team against the Dex team, and that actually worked really, really well. But I'll be showcasing that in another video. So in this particular fight, once again, we do have Corazon and Law to do a lot of nerfing to driven powerhouses and quick units. We have the Rebecca Toy Soldier, who is going to be nerfing Zoro once he comes in. And once Zoro does come in, it's normally quite scary. But because we do have our 2 slasher nerfers, it makes us a little bit safer. But Zoro can still do some crazy things. Zoro can still hit very, very hard. And if he gets his special off within that last 30 seconds, you want to bet your ass you have a lot of defense, because he is going to hit you ridiculously hard. So we're going to take a Brachio Bomber here, but that's okay. We did manage to get Corazon special off to heal us, as well as give us a bit of defense. We have Law coming in with his fixed damage. Law's fixed damage is really, really good. 2200 against like a large range, which is normally like most enemies. Just works exceptionally well. Ivakov's going to nerf our attack, but with this particular team, it's not that big of a deal nerfing the attack. It's a little bit annoying, but we do have a lot of fixed damage here with Roger and Law, and then we have a lot of defense nerfing with Rebecca and Toy Soldier, which is great. And then if we do get quite low HP, after we do take that Kaido shot, we can actually heal back up with Corazon. Now, the beautiful thing about Law as well, when you are versing Kaido, is Kaido has that paralysis mechanic, but with Law's special, if you actually get that off after it, you can actually remove the paralysis with Law's special, as he does that to PSY units. Now, Jozu came in and cleaned up our Rebecca Toy Soldier and our Corazon, so unfortunately, we didn't get the healing from Corazon or those extra defense, but because his special cooldown is quite high, we do have Whitebeard coming in to take over that. We are in the last 50 seconds as well, which means Whitebeard is going to hit very, very hard with his special, as he does have all those extra buffs with his passive. Colgar and Nolan is going to take out Queen. That's what I mean by Colgar and Nolan. They just do so much damage on a single target, and most of the time they will take out a unit that has a lot of HP. We have Enel to clean up some scraps here, but they did get Zoro coming in. Zoro is going to pop off his special, so we do have to be careful. But we have enough units to basically tank that if that happens, and Bob's your uncle. So there you guys go. That was the showcase of Enel and the quick team. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you did, make sure to go down there and belt the like button for me. And if you're new to the channel, hit the big red subscribe button too. But guys, wherever you are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, say thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Let's